Hi guys, I'm Kaylee Hale. I wanted to make some videos to share what I've been learning about relationships and people and self-awareness. Thankfully, Austin has given me an opportunity to share this with you guys. I've started my own self-awareness journey a couple of years ago. I didn't always realize that I saw the world a little differently. Than the people around me, and I just thought everyone saw it the way I did, which is very arrogant of me. Um, but this has given me such a great opportunity to talk to people who do see it differently, with people who see the world black and white, or people who see the world purely through intellect or other stuff, where I see it as a giant puzzle where people fit together, and that you can always have a relationship with anyone if you learn how to react properly and how to bring out the positive in them. So through this journey, I got to know Austin Fletcher, a phenomenal guy. So excited for this New Age Christianity. Can't wait to learn more myself and see where this all goes. But in this, he believes, and I'm starting to believe, that I have a calling in my life to share the knowledge that I have and to continue to grow in what I don't know. This whole joy in relationships has always been with me, but it only got magnified when I was able to listen to Danny Silk. He is phenomenal. If you haven't heard of him, please Google him, watch some of his videos, get some of his books. He's incredible. He wrote a book, which I actually read. I don't read teaching books very often, so this is pretty wow for me, which is Keep Your Love On. Up until that point, which was about 2.5 years of marriage, I thought I was doing great. I mean, we were happy, we were doing really well, we were communicating, and then I read this book, and I was like, darn it. This is how to bring it to the next level. This is how to bring my relationships around me to the next level, and how to bring my own accountability to the next level, which was both wonderful and awful, because I can no longer play the victim. I can no longer blame other people for what was going on in my life. But once I did start taking responsibility, I noticed a dramatic change in my life. Now, it wasn't immediate, and it wasn't, all from one thing. It was little things and the domino effect of them. But I was hoping to take, this opportunity to share some of the stuff that I've learned with you guys, and hopefully you guys will be encouraged to share what you've learned with me. I would love opportunity to have different people speak in my life and to learn more about people through people. So one of the first things that I've learned fairly recently is that there's two types of processing information with people. There's internal processors. When something dramatic happens, something frustrating, something emotional, something happens in your life, you pause, you want to take your time alone, and you want to think about it. You want to have all, the scenarios worked out in your head. You want to know exactly what you think about it, what you believe about it, and how you want to react to it before you have to talk about it. And then the other way is a verbal processor. You don't know how you think about it, you don't know how you feel about it, and you don't know how you want to react about it till you can talk it out with someone else. Normally, I'm sure not always, in relationships, you will have one of each. I know in my marriage, my husband is the internal processor, and I am the verbal processor, if you can't already tell. So with that, it's learning how to communicate with each other in a way that is safe and appropriate for each involved in this relationship. One of the things that I noticed that I was doing in my relationship was that every time something phenomenal happened or awful happened, or, something happened at my husband's job, or my job or something, I wanted to talk it out. I wanted him to talk it out with me. I would say stuff like, you'll feel better once you talk it out. Or like, hey, I don't know how to react until I at least know what's going on. And it was just this constant pushing of him to tell me how he felt, how he wanted to react, how we should react, how we should feel in this scenario. Which is fine. That's what I needed to be able to deal with it. But what I didn't understand is that's not what he needs. He needs a chance to actually think about it and to contemplate it and decide without any outside interference of how he wants to feel, react, and deal with that situation. So I say this because I've realized that in most marriages, in most friendships and different stuff, that you deal with a verbal and an internal processor without a mutual respect for each other's systems or each other's ways of processing. You know, I notice this because a lot of times women are the verbal processors, not always. I actually have a friend that they're flip-flopped. He's the external processor, and she's the internal. You know, when you get two external processors together, they can talk for hours and never have anything, never run out of anything to say. Internal processors are going to be the ones that when, they've processed, they're going to come together and they're going to totally have this put together, plan. They're going to, hey, this is how it works. This is what we're going to do. This is what I thought. And it's going to sound complete. It's going to sound whole. And it's going to be a lot more put together. And a verbal processor is going to be this rambling, I always call it myself, verbal vomit. And then it's like, okay, now that I've kind of thrown this out here, let's sort through it. Man, that sounds really gross. And put it together and let's come to an understanding. But the problem with that is that if you don't understand how each other works and you don't have a respect for that, there can be a lot of miscommunication and a lot of frustration where we didn't have a lot, but my husband and I did have some where I would constantly push him to talk when he wasn't ready. And he would constantly want to fix whatever my issue was or whatever I needed to process as I was trying to process through. I wasn't even sure how I felt about it, and he was trying to fix a problem that I'm not even sure if I have, because I haven't had a chance to work it through. So, first I'm saying this just so you can be aware, so you can understand what's going on, so that you can start identifying it in your life. First figure out what you are, and then try to pay attention to those around you, how they react when something big happens. Do they want to instantly talk about it? Or do they want to say, hey, I can't deal with this now. Let's talk about it later when I've had a chance to think it through. I feel like it's fairly obvious which is which. So, and another thing is verbal processors. I know this is hard, but when your internal processor, family member, friend, coworker, husband, wife needs that time, you have to give it to them. You can't push them. You can't expect them to process the way you do. Talking about it won't make them feel better. It will confuse them and frustrate them more. They're trying to communicate something that they can't feel better in the end until they've thought about it. And internal processors, verbal processors need somebody to talk to. They have to have a sounding board to be able to figure out where they're at. If they don't, they're going to be those people that are in the grocery store randomly telling people about their awful day because no one else will listen. They get so stuck in their head that it just comes flowing out. So, if you truly love that person, give them an opportunity to share where they're at, share what they're feeling, and get to that place of, completion, I guess, of that thought or that frustration. And don't try to fix it until they're done. Let them process it out. One of the things I often tell my husband is like, hey, this happened. Can I process on you? Can I talk about it with you? Or there's times where I'll start rambling and my husband goes, are you processing right now? If you can identify that you're processing or if you can identify when somebody's processing, it's easier to know how to react to them. You know, they might start the whole conversation frustrated and, you know, really angry, and at the end of it, they're really calm and they're resolved and they know what they're going to do, and you're kind of like, what just happened in this 5 minutes? Like, you went from here to here. Where as an internal processor, you get to do that whole process in your head, which sometimes I'm very jealous of, but other times I'm awesome, so I'm teasing. Yeah. And this is a great way to just learn how people in your life react differently than you, how to deal with how people react differently. And in this, it's a great way when that you just understanding how people are different makes the world seem smaller. It makes people not seem so much more complicated, and it gives you a patience and a grace for them that you might not otherwise have. So hey, when that person in your life is sounding like a complete ding-dong and telling you personal details that you yourself probably wouldn't share, give them an opportunity to work it out. I'm not saying that you have to let them vent to you about something over and over and over again. You can ask them, does this conversation have a conclusion? Does this conversation have a result? Something that you're working towards, or is it just venting? I mean, you don't have to put yourself in situations where you just listen to people vent over and over and over again. And internal processors communicate that you need time, that you are working through it. And once you've worked through it, communicate what you've worked through with your verbal processor. They're dying to know, and then they're dying to tell you how they feel once they figured it out with you. I hope you've enjoyed this first video. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear them. I'm not saying I know any of the answers, but I'd love to try to find out and work with people that know more than me and continue to learn. Thank you. Have a great day, guys. Love you all.